DYCD, Barbershop Talks. Fatherhood matters. Diverse. Hey yo, these is barbershop talks where the fathers pop off. Brag about relationships and argue about sports. Every topic's a favorite, is how we plot course toward changes. It all begins with dialogue and patience. Barbershop talk, so let's chop it up, boys. Barbershop talk, so let's chop it up, boys. Barbershop talk, so let's chop it up, boys. Chop it up, boys. Chop it up, boys. It's barbershop talk, so let's chop it up, boys.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Good, sir. Good, sir. How are you doing, Scott?
Doing good. Coming to the end of this year. Got some cold weather coming tomorrow, the weekend. Perfect for the holiday, for Christmas, and all the kids will get to see hopefully a white Christmas. We haven't had one in a while.
No, we haven't had one in a while, and it's always beautiful. You know, it's funny. I think back on my childhood and how much I love the white Christmas, and then in my adulthood, how annoyed I am about what's about to happen to my back. Because you gotta be a grown up and shovel, right? I'll tell you something about paying it forward, though, right? I saw a young brother in the neighborhood who's a little older than my daughter, right? And he was out there hustling, shoveling or whatever. So I was like, "You want to make some more money?" Whatever, So I got him to dig out my car, And then my daughter tried to side eye me a little bit too. I was like, "I didn't see you asking to do the work, though." You know what I mean? He's out here trying to make that money, right? So I'm gonna dap him up,
Yes. See,
hopefully he comes around. Yeah.
I got smart and cleaned out my garage with my snowblower right in front.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Make sure it has gas, right? And oil and everything it needs.
So we're here at the end of the year of our barbershop talks that we've had. And actually, looking back, starting from 2020, I think this is around about our 33rd show of the Barbershop Talks.
Wow.
We're excited about all the things and some of the people that we've had over the years. Mike, it's amazing. Never even thought that we would be, almost 3 years into doing this series every month. And like I said, I think we're around, we're somewhere in the 30s. I got to get the actual number of how many shops we've done. But that's a lot of information we have. We talked about many, many different topics. So how are you feeling about it so far?
I feel very good. We have touched on this a couple of times as we've gone along over the years. There were specific reasons why we wanted to create the Barbershop Talks. And let's take ourselves back to 2020, right, where we were first learning about the coronavirus and we didn't even have the vaccines yet, and we were quarantining. And then on top of that, after the murder of George Floyd, rest his soul, we were curfewing.
Yeah.
So, and that was really the jump off in the start. And we figured there was an energy in the city and a need to feel connected while we were cooped up in our houses and apartments. And after a certain hour, you're not even supposed to be out. You get in trouble if you're supposed to be out. We said, well, if people are cooped up in the house, let's try and enter into a dialogue with them. And even though we're not under a quarantine and a curfew, the need and the opportunity to have these conversations has not gone away. That need is still strong, and we're trying to deliver on that. And the end of the year is a good time to reflect. I don't even, it's funny when you said the number, I didn't even know the number. I remember joking with you about a year ago where we're like, oh, we should keep going. We should keep going. You said, we've been doing this 3 years. I'm like, no, it's been 2 years, Scott. But now it really has been 3 years. We started, is my math right? We started then in 2020, 2021. Here we are at the end of 2022. And big things have changed. We had a whole other mayor and commissioner and a whole lot of other stuff that was going on. And it's very exciting that, we met internally with our new colleagues under the Adams administration and under Commissioner Howard. They're very excited about what the Barbershop Talks have been and very excited in holding our hands and working with us in 2023. So we have every reason to believe Barbershop Talks will continue. And we're doing it for you, whoever is listening right now, to me and Scott go on about whatever it is. This is why we're doing it. We're not doing it for me. We're not doing it for Scott Leach. We're doing it for you and for other New Yorkers. So we want to make sure these conversations are valuable and make sure we are showcasing issues and pointing New Yorkers toward resources that will help them. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty good.
And I just also want to remind people, if you have a topic or an issue or something you want to get into us, you can always shoot us an email at fatherhood@dycd.nyc.gov. Once again, if you have a topic or something you want to get into us to the show, you can write to fatherhood@dycd.nyc.gov. Well, who knows? Maybe take your topic and run with it coming for the new year. So, Mike, we have some guests back to the barbershop from our past. I was thinking about some of the people who really helped us jump to get this started, and I was thinking about Ted Bunch, Dr.
Yeah.
Alfonso Wyatt, Dr. Torin Easton, who came on talking, and he's had a lot of great people that really actually helped us get this thing started. But we have one of our barbers from the past who's coming back to venture in with us. Sometimes you get on the barbershop and they go find their own shop uptown and they start doing some big things. And Mike, I want you to introduce your mentee. I won't say his name, but I'll let you have the honors.
Thank you for the honor. And where do I begin and where do I go? Right. Let's not to the beginning of all time, but the beginning of his role in the barbershop. So after Scott and I started getting used to facilitating these conversations and having these dialogue, we looked at each other and we said, we would be a lot stronger if we had somebody a little bit younger, a little bit different energy on the bench, or maybe take them off the bench and put them in the catcher spot right now, put them in the middle of the action. And Jerry probably had himself in mind even before we reached out to Jerry, but he was a very eager colleague, and not just with the barbershop, but really in all things. So he had been for a very long time a great asset to the New York City Department of Youth and Community Development, and a rising star. And if he wasn't going to be somebody's director here or somebody's senior director here, he's going to do that somewhere else. So it's one of those things where I and others were sorry that we lost him to DYCD, but like with other things, we're very sticky. So if you have a mission to serve New Yorkers, you're going to take that with you into whatever you do, and that's what Jerry is doing now. So I know the father of providers call you a Jefe, Scott, but now I'm starting to call this guy the chief. The chief.
Yes.
Because right back in the barbershop is the chief, the chief of staff now, a big baller, right? They're using his mind and they're using his skill and their passion in like 100 different ways. And I do want you to take a minute, get your flowers right now, and tell folks what you're up to right now. Jerry Hippolyte, welcome back to the barbershop. No one sat in your chair while you were gone.
I appreciate y'all so much, man. It feels so good to be back with my brothers. I actually, just in lieu of the barbershop, actually came with my T-liner just to make sure I didn't forget my cut, my T-liner right here. Anybody who does cuts knows what it is, but I'm grateful because everything that I was able to get shaped up in life, in skill set, in character, and professionalism really comes from this table right here. I appreciate you, Scott. Mike, I call you my big brother, been my mentor and just walked me through this journey of excellence as relates to being a professional. And even in a personal life, it just spills over. So I went to the school of DYCD, the university. I call DYCD the university. And I was able to really plant my feet. And so now, as you know, I'm the chief of staff at Partnership with Children, which is the nexus of mental health and youth development. We just have some exciting things. We have 67 schools across the 5 boroughs that were really sowing in great seed of mental health practices. A lot of them, about 30 plus schools, are community schools, which really speak to a hybrid for safe spaces for youth to really speak to their social, emotional, and cognitive ability. And we're just really building off of trauma-informed practices to really build our youth in a better, healthier space so they can succeed and thrive.
Oh
Wonderful.
man, sounds outstanding. Excellent. So,
Can't beat it. Welcome back, Jerry.
Man, it's so good to be back. I got to cut, it just don't feel right until you go to the barbershop. So I'm ready to get this thing started.
so what's on the horizon besides all the things that you're in charge of and things happening at the agency?
Oh,
Anything
well,
that we should be looking out for?
so there's a couple of really like great things that I could say, hey, get ready for. So we go in the same year. So for FY 2023, we're building out into going into the summer. We actually started our strategic plan and really coming to the close of that space. And we were looking, what does it look like to reimagine this thing called the nexus of mental health and youth development. And one of the things that we found out in the space, though we do it great, we could dive deeper for even more high quality programming. So you're going to see a lot of our community schools, a lot of our partnership with children's schools starting to create hubs in what we call clusters so that we can target community populations, really tap into other programming that's happening, whether it be a beacon, a cornerstone, or a sonic program, and really not just share our skills, but leverage other relationships so that that entire community, not just the parent, but we can create a holistic approach to give a wraparound service to the entire family so that they're surrounded by resources and there's more of a safety net for the entire family to succeed. We've been doing a very narrow space with dealing with just the students, the participants, and going into the next 5 years, we want to really build that out to see what would we look like if we capture Pablo's brother or Jermaine's sister, and then bring in their aunt, and then have some intergenerational activities to bring in Nana and also mom, right? What does that look like if we surround them with resources to help the entire family thrive, and not just the time where they're in school for them to be great, but at home where they could be even better.
And so, what's the temperature around the mental health with a lot of our young people? Because sometimes I think about that's what's causing some of the issues we have in the community with, violence and things that are happening. How is that playing out in the schools and the youth that you're working with?
Well, it's different. So a lot of the signs that we're seeing right now with the youth as relates with in school is really a carryover from the pandemic. Like I know we walked out of it, but it was more recent than we would like to believe, right? And so what you're seeing a lot of is where in schools you'll hear runners, right? You see that happening a lot, or at least more often than not. You see a lot of withdrawal. People really, when I say people, I'm talking about youth getting just readjusted and acclimated to being back in school. Also, what is the carryover effect? We started this thing called virtual school, right? There's some kids that like it, some kids that didn't. How do we make that more equitable as well as create more flexibility in that space? Because some people thrived in it, right? And other students, it looked a little bit different for them. There's a lot of residualness that happened in that space. So we're really working into that to make sure that those families have those resources. And then more importantly, the youth have spaces to go if they need a timeout, if they need to walk, just to take a walk out of the classroom because it's overwhelming in this moment. And so again, just to really speak to it, you're seeing really a lot of just withdrawal in this space. You see a lot of just a little frustration where they can't figure out how do I express myself, and being grateful that we have social workers on site that can really just pull you out the room without it being penal or punitive, talk you through it, and you can gently, gracefully go back into your class and continue your education as if nothing happened because it's all part of the academic experience.
So can I ask you a little bit more about that? In the barbershop, we talked a couple of times, maybe a few times. Well, we talked several times along the way about mental health generally, but over the past year or so, I think we talked about the experience of a worldwide pandemic has been so vast and so far reaching, and people having to deal with everything from the quarantine to the curfew to the uncertainty to the loss of life of family members to the disruption of school and all these different things that you just touched on some of them again, right? That maybe just maybe conversations about our mental health and well-being could become commonplace and not stigmatized. So as you're building this 5-year plan and you're looking at the mental health needs of students and youth and also the family members too, how are you finding the relationship of stigma, if there was one? Has it gone away? Is it erased, or is it still an issue? How are you dealing with it if it is an issue, if it is still an issue, or if it's a different issue. Yeah.
One, it's still an issue, right? That's something that we are progressively working on. It's better than what it was, but it still exists. Two, let's speak to the now, right? And let's speak to New York City, right? And I say that very specifically because there's been a very strong, in a healthy and a good way, immigrant population that's come involved. And when we talk about mental health, that looks differently across culture. So maybe one population or one subgroup within the school may be able to speak to a little bit more, where a whole nother culture who is just now being infused into that space, they don't. So creating what we're saying now, you see it now within works with different type of DEI programs. You actually now see it in a smaller version in schools, different affinity groups, so that kids can have different kids like-minded with them that they can speak to, making sure that they have counselors, teachers that speak the same language and can be culturally competent, so they can create that safe space. And so that's really where we're speaking to when we come across like, okay, what does that look like in this space? Because there's been a strong new fusion of immigrants and new classmates. And how do we fuse those cross cultures to create a safe space that maybe not be a social norm to another culture, but absolutely fine with another? And sometimes that may come across abrasive. And so in those spaces, we like to make sure that we have a person who is culturally competent, who can speak the cultural language. And when I say cultural language, it doesn't necessarily even mean speaking a different language because you come from a different country. It could literally just be speaking the neighborhood language, right? Making sure that there are community and social advocates within the community that may be able to speak and intervene on that child's behalf, so that we can come to a better compromise, as well as that child, most importantly than all of this, feel safe enough to express themselves, and then we be able to move in a healthy, safe space.
Awesome.
Some of the stuff you touch on, my most familiar frame of reference is Harlem Children's Zone, where there's a catchment area and say everybody who lives here is ours, and we love you and we support you and you tell us what you want. So we're definitely going to focus on the kids in these schools and but everybody here, you're our community. Are there other approaches and people that, you know, the way that they're doing it points in the direction that you're trying to go, or there's some philosophical ways of thinking about what you're trying to do that, you know, kind of holds or anchors what your organization is trying to do?
Yes, I think from a very granted, because I can sit down and really dive into our mission and vision, but the safest and the cleanest way to really share it out to make it palatable to everybody is children first. Like at the end of the day, is making sure that children are first and they know that, right? And that space is created for them. And so that's really our guiding North Star. What do they need so that they know that they're moving with value and that they're first? Whether it's speaking to them the way they need to be spoken to, or creating curriculum, as well as different types of SEL, or for us is SEC, social, emotional, and cognitive activities that can connect what they're learning academically to real life. One of the areas from a very tangible level is we're reevaluating our KPIs, our key indicators. How are we measuring this? A lot of times what we've been doing from a mental health perspective, we've had to rely a lot on DOE. Now, the problem with DOE is that their numbers really speak to academics and absences. That doesn't really speak to a child's well-being, unless you're talking about absenteeism, right? And so how do we find the right metric that really speaks to the overall well-being of a child so they can thrive? Sometimes it's not necessarily about a child being an A student, but being a progressive student. So going from that child maybe starting at 60 or 65 to now they're at 75, 80. That shows wellness. And as long as they can sustain healthy relationships at home, within school, and they continue to operate within their daily activities, that's overall well-being, especially if they have the abilities to cope. So we try to teach coping mechanisms, safe spaces where they can fully express themselves, and then what's the best and most healthy way for that child in that classroom for them to receive the information and then express it back out.
And Jerry, I was just wondering, because I'm thinking still about these young kids who they're in Head Start, daycare, first grade, or whatever, and their experience of having to go to this and interact in such a large way, right off the back. How is their emotional abilities being handled by this? Are you all work with that population also?
So our smallest population is elementary. We don't dive into daycare, so we're talking about under 6 in that space. But one of the things that even started in the beginning, and you even see it in colleges now, is creating smaller classroom sizes. We're also changing the ratio of how many students we take on for therapy if needed. There are group sessions that's actually come down into smaller session size, so we can have more one-on-ones and build that out. As well as another area is what we call safe spaces or lounges. You may see it in some of the different programming that happen with youth, lounge settings, so that this is your space where you can be fully comfortable and you can design it. You have your voice to speak to it any which way you want. If you need to step out or you need to take a walk, that's absolutely fine. I know if you go back 15, 20 years, I know going in high school, there was no timeout or redirection. It was you had to sit there and you had to take it. And it spoke to a false narrative where even though children are resilient, it doesn't mean that you speak to them or you move in a very specific type of way that goes counter to them receiving full academic or social emotional support.
And then also I was thinking about, I know the studies are showing how boys and girls learn in different spaces. Is that part of some of this work also?
So it speaks to that, but I would say the characteristics of boys and girls learning in different spaces actually speaks to different ideas or concepts of masculinity or femininity, right? And so in your typical social construct, boys and girls, you really take in information as relates to feeling, behavior patterns, the same way till about 6 years old. And then somewhere around 6 years old, boys kind of narrow their emotional, what they call it, the male funnel system, where they narrow their emotion to pride, anger, and content, where females get to really express their full variety of emotions. And that really speaks to the time where they're beginning to go to pre-K into school. And now you have different social norms, whether it be their culture or unfortunate different reinforcement that happen in school, even though those things are changing. And so in that area, maybe not during preschool, but by the time they get to elementary, and our hope is we even, going back to the wraparound system, that holistic approach, we can speak to parents, we can speak to different DOE schools. And when I say DOE schools, I'm talking about the whole academic system. So we're talking about charter schools, and really speak to them. This is the best way that we can create a social, emotional, cognitive, I would say, receiving space for them to get information. The whole thing about masculinity and femininity, those are all definitions that are really based on a male or female biological subculture. But the reality is we all share different times where I may be more masculine in this area, and in other areas, I may be feminine. What do I mean by that? There's times you may see me cry, and that is absolutely okay. There's times you may see my sister stand really strong and tall and lift things that you think, oh, that's not typical of a woman. That doesn't take away from the fact that she is a woman. She's just operating in a stronger, independent way. And so we share those same characteristics. It's just unfortunate when people weaponize them.
Yeah.
Yep. Wow. So Jerry, I hope you're gonna. I'm pretty sure you're gonna help us stick around as we segue into our next guests that are coming up. And man, and you have so many great things to do. And I appreciate what you're doing. And if people want to get in touch with Jerry, how we can do? Because I see some people in the chat room are giving you some big ups. They say Jerry's back. But
Now, I appreciate it. Anyone really just wants to reach out to me, please check out our website, www.partnershipwithchildren.org. There's a contact section right there, and it actually goes directly to our org, and it gets funnels out to me. And so I can't wait to hear you all. Please check out the website, see what we're doing. And I just look forward to sticking around. Now that I'm here, it's going to be hard for you guys to kick me off the shop. I'm right here. I told you I got my clippers with me. So.
There you go. We could use the shape up in the lineup, so be ready. Stay tuned.
definitely. So we're going to bring on our next guest that was in the barbershop with us in the past. She's a colleague of ours at DYCD. She heads up the community boards and the NABs and stuff around the city. And her mother has had extensive life work working with the community and advocating for the community and she just stepped right in mom's shoes, and she's doing a great work herself. I want to introduce my colleague, Miss Antonetti. How you doing, Miss Antonetti? How you doing?
Hello, Scott. I'm just fine. As I said in the chat, I'm fascinated by Jerry's description of where he is now. It's wonderful. Can I ask a question of Jerry?
Go ahead.
Do the children have a say in their education? Do they have ownership of it in any way, or are they just dealing with adults?
Great question. I'll do this real quick, and I'm gonna do a horrible honorable plug. One of the things that I definitely got from DYCD is just youth voice, right? And so that's you see that sprinkled around every majority of things that DYCD does. When I came to PWC, we say in short, they're already doing that. Now all I'm doing is pushing it a little bit further. So yes, the quick answer is if you really want to see a child's expansive range of social emotional learning, you have to give them voice. You have to give them voice in what they're learning, how they're learning it, and the best way for them to receive it.
Great. Sounds wonderful.
So, Ms. Antonetti, so
yes,
let's talk about your role at DYCD and all the things that you do, and the CNAs that you're in charge of, the NAVs, the community boards, and also we want to dive into this needs assessment that we have going around that we want more people to take. I'm not sure if it's actually closed out, but we wanted to.
It's not closed out. It's the 2022 Community Needs Assessment. So we have a couple of weeks left of 2022. So it'll end on December 31st.
So where can people go if they're looking to still take it? And let's talk a little bit more about the importance of the needs assessment so people know why they should go and find out where this document is. And I think we're going to have to put up on the screen the URL that people can kind of take a picture of real quick in YouTube land or wherever they can do it. But let's talk about the needs assessment and the importance of this document and the survey we want.
Well, it's the survey that we take to find out what programs and services are needed in each of the communities. Usually we're doing it only in the neighborhood development areas, which are communities across the city that are 20% or more of the population is at the federal poverty level. So, but this year we opened it up to anyone who lives in New York City, who is 14 years or older, can take this survey and tell us what's needed in their community. And they also tell us what they need as well, if they need services. So it's them, and then it's about their community. What are the top 3 needs of your community? And through that, we'll be able to see what's the difference between the last time we did the community needs assessment, and that's what CNA stands for, because Scott was using the letters, so it's community needs assessment. We do it every 3 years. So the last time we did it was in 2019. So a lot happened between 2019 and 2022. There we go. That's our flyer. There's a QR code on the bottom. If you click it with your phone, you can go straight to the survey. You can also go to the DYCD website. It's www.nyc.gov/DYCD. And right there on the first page, you'll see I don't know what the technical term is, but you'll see the pictures that move. And the second one is the survey, and you can just click on it and take the survey. It takes about 5 minutes to do, maybe a little more if you're reading every single thing. But we really want to know, what do you think are the top 3 needs in your community? And then there's some demographic information. We also want to know what neighborhood you live in, so we can pinpoint where the needs are. It's available in 12 languages, and on the first page of the survey, you get to select the language that you most prefer to take it in. So we encourage everybody who's out there, 14 years and older, to take the survey.
I got a question for Anita, if that's okay.
Hmm.
So, I actually want to swing it back. I think we might even discussed it at DYCD. I know it's definitely an area topic at PWC. It in this new world of misinformation, me going on to click on the survey. One, is my information safe? I
Yeah.
may have immigrant family members who are still working on their visa, right? I may have all types of different situations going on. One, how does this report, just to be clear for everyone listening, how does this beneficial or help me and my community? And am I safe if I actually use it and I actually share my information?
You are safe because it's totally anonymous. The only thing we ask for that might, well, identifies you, but it really doesn't, is we ask for your initials at the end and the day of your birth, not the year, the day of your birth. So that's what makes it totally anonymous. You don't have, there's no other place that we ask for your name, your address, your social security number, your tax ID number. We don't ask for anything else. We don't ask for immigration status. We don't ask what, well, we do ask how you identify yourself, but that's all demographics that are part of the data analysis. And but mostly what we want is to know what do you think is needed? What types of programs and what types of services are needed in your community?
Just to
And
piggyback on that, because you mentioned the demographics,
mhm,
and again, to answer Jerry's point, there's no identifying information to be able to tie who said what. It's just important for folks to hear from folks as constituents and as members of their community what they think is most important. So just as an example, like Scott, you oversee a fatherhood initiative outside of the barbershop, right? It may be useful to hear men in the Bronx between such and such an age are saying we really think that there's a particular need. Maybe that's something we need to let existing fatherhood programs know about, and how can they amplify or lean into that need. Or we have some programs that serve I used to say seniors, but I've met with the commissioner at Department for the Aging. The term is older adults. So we may want to hear from our older adults around the city. Maybe they have particular distinct needs in a given neighborhood or in a given borough. We want to respond and be able to amplify that. So that's why we're asking that kind of demographic information, as well as asking about the needs.
And Anita, I want to also move over a little bit to some of the other work that you do. That you have community boards. What are
we
community
have
boards?
neighborhood advisory
Sorry,
boards
I'm sorry. Neighborhood advisory boards. What are those?
because the city has the community boards.
What's the
Uh,
name?
so neighborhood advisory boards are residents of those communities that are 20% or more of the population at the federal poverty level. And the reason we have those boards is because when this funding, this is federal funding, uh, began a long time ago, it was 58 years, 1964, with the Economic Opportunity Act. It was a war on poverty that was declared at the time. And what it was to help people. It wasn't meant, it was never meant to eradicate poverty. It was as meant to help people who are impoverished to alleviate the effects of poverty and to give them a leg up so that hopefully they could eventually get out of poverty. So it's to provide those services, and it's been going on for the last 58 years. But the main thing in that law, it said that residents who are going to receive these services need to have a voice in the services, much like the children at the school, to talk about what's needed and to have a way of advising. They advise DYCD, which is the Community Action Agency for the City of New York, and they tell us this is what we need in our community. And the way that they do that is through being members of the Neighborhood Advisory Board. And that's boards that are made up to 12 people, and they have to live within that neighborhood development area. They meet about four times a year, once a quarter minimum. But when we're doing the needs assessment, they actually administer the survey to people in their community so that we can find out what's needed. And they also hold public hearings so people can give live testimony as to what's needed in the community and have a discussion about what's needed in the community. So there's real work here. And when there's a request for proposals to be issued, which is about the funding, they also look at the data that's received from that needs assessment, and they decide, they see what the priorities are, and they will allocate the funding for those priorities. So they'll do that. They'll also get to read and rate the proposals that are submitted by the community-based organizations who will do the services and the programs. So there's real power here with these neighborhood advisory boards, and they're there for. They have a term of office. There's two 3-year terms, and then after that they're off the board, and other people come onto the board, and we accept applications on a rolling basis. And once again, on the DYCD website, www.nyc.gov/DYCD, there's a tab that says Get Involved. And under that tab, you would click on Neighborhood Advisory Boards, and you can fill out an application and become a member of the board. The minimum age to become a member for the Neighborhood Advisory Board is 16. And we're looking for younger people to join the boards. But it's a great experience. It's great. It's civics, because you're working with a city agency to provide for your community, but it's real hands-on experience and different from the community boards. The community boards are totally advisory. They don't do any, they just tell the city, this is what we want, but the city makes the decision. But in the neighborhood advisory boards, the boards make the decision which programs get funding and who's going to run the programs in their community. So it's really a good experience. And we're always taking applications because people begin at different times, so they'll be off the board and we'll have another space. And so it's a good place to be. And my job is to make sure all of this runs tightly, and that the boards work well together, and we have liaisons that go into the community and go to board meetings that are held in the community. And it's usually the meetings that we have 4 times a year are about an hour. So it's about an hour of your time 4 times a year, except for when we have outreach events, like we do National Night Out every year. We do other community events, street fairs and block parties and whatever else is happening, turkey giveaways we were doing, and anything else that happens in the community. So they're very much involved in the community.
Great! Wow, so much to offer. So if I meet somebody in the community, they go, "Oh, I don't like what's happening." I should tell them, say, "Hey, listen, are you in the community board?" I mean, not the community board, the neighborhood
advisory board. No, but the thing is, they can be on the community board. If they're part of the community board, they can also be part of the neighborhood advisory board. There's no conflict of interest there.
Wow. So
yeah,
in fact, you do have, right? You have community board members.
We have community
NYPD advisory. Yeah, talk about some of these.
We have people from all walks of life. We have teachers. We have doctors. We have moms that are at home. We have grandmothers and grandfathers. We have all kinds of people. We've had district managers who run the community board in their community. I mean, we've had all kinds of people on our boards. And it's true. You just have to have the desire to help your community.
I guess also going back to Jerry's somewhat his comment. So if I am not truly a citizen, can I
Mm.
still be part of it? Because
Oh, yes, we
I
don't
share about
check.
my community.
We don't ask for papers. We don't check anything like that. We don't ask for any, we ask that you tell us where you live because it's based on you being a resident of the neighborhood development area. So what we ask for is a piece of mail that has your name and the address where you live.
And how do I look to see what district my streets are in to know which board I can apply to? Or
Well, we when you apply, we check your address, but it's in your wherever you live. So if you live in Brooklyn, you would apply, and then you tell us your neighborhood through your address. We see in our database which neighborhood it is. We have 41 different neighborhood development areas across the city. Brooklyn and the Bronx, they're pretty much all together. Um, but in Queens and Manhattan, they're kind of spread out. So we do have to look at the address because that's what the law requires, that you live, that the person on the board lives in the community. However, even if you don't live in the community, our meetings are all open to the public, and they're published on our website. When they're scheduled, they're published on the website, and anyone can come to the meeting and can give their opinion and join the discussion.
is there a place that I can see the schedule and the location
Yes,
of the meeting?
the website again, www.nyc.gov/DYCD. The tab says Get Involved.
Wow. Okay. So anything else that we need to know about this work? And
No, it's ongoing. As I said before, it's 58 years and ongoing. So, and we are always recruiting members. So if anybody's interested, feel free to apply.
great, thank you.
I think I wanted to say something. I think Jerry had a question too. I'm biased in favor, right? Because I work with Scott and I work with Anita. So sometimes I don't want to go on too long about this, but the way that you introduced Anita, I think was really cool. I want to not excuse Anita. Please feel free to stay till the end, but like, again, credit Anita and other colleagues like Jerry, like Scott, who like live their values and do this work, whether at DYCD or elsewhere, as as Jerry's transitioned into something else, but like really trying to be there for New Yorkers. And part of what is so cool about this conversation, and one of the things that Jerry's pointing to earlier with his organization, and what Anita was just pointing to with her work and our organization, is how important it is to hear directly from people who in their lived lives, they have something to say that's informed by their experience. And that's really important, but it's also really important that we can reflect that and demonstrate some understanding of what's been said, and make moves and make changes and support people in terms of what they need to do next to get on with their lives and live their lives more powerfully. And like, that's a really important part of what we're doing. And I think what drove all of us, and I would think the next folks we're going to introduce in the barbershop, that drives them to do their work as well. So I wanted to credit Anita and her team. Hardworking. We still want to get
All
those
of us.
responses, but everyone who responds right now is contributing to the most robust response that we've ever gotten so far, and we want to keep it coming, and we want to hear from every New Yorker. I timed myself. You can do this in under 10 minutes. It doesn't take a lot of time to lift up your voice. And that point that you made, I think earlier, Anita, 16 and older to be a neighborhood advisory board member.
Yes.
And anyone 14 and up can do the survey. My daughter's 14. She's like, "Can I do the survey?" Because we were. Oh, I need to tell you this, Anita. We were tabling at our church the other day. She said, "Can I do the survey?" I said, "Yeah, go ahead. Knock yourself out. You live here, right?" "Yeah, I live here." "All right. Well, what do you think?" Right? And that's equally valid to the 82-year-old woman that she was helping get through the survey. So
No, it's great, and that's what community is, and community development is we're helping each other. So, and that's what's mostly needed, and especially in this time when we've gone through a really hard time and everybody's affected by it. We need to know that we have neighbors, we have friends, we have family, and if we don't, you can join our families and join our neighbors and all of that. So we need to help each other, because that's how we will survive, and that's how we will do better.
Yeah, I think, is there room? Can I ask Anita one more question?
Sure.
All
Yeah,
right,
go for it.
awesome. Thank y'all for that. One, I do want to echo what Mike said. I champion Anita. Anita is, as far as I'm concerned, she's the woman king. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's out there and she does the work. She lives the life. And so, for anyone out there listening, please don't just be a voice, but invest your voice through the survey. With that, I actually want to see, is there a touch point between the survey and the community health profiles? I know the community health profiles are, they come out yearly with the city that speaks to the different disparities that happen in every neighborhood and district. And what does that
Right.
look like? Basically the health of the community. So I was curious if any of that information gets funneled. So if I don't know, and I'm curious I don't know what my needs are, right? I'm new to the community. I want to understand what's happening in that space, and I can use that maybe as a reference point so I can speak even better to the survey. But I'm curious, is there a touch point between the survey and community health profiles?
There's not a direct touch point. However, the information that we get, the data that we collect, DYCD may not be able to provide those services that are being asked for, but we will share that information with the other city agencies, like the Department of Health, like the Department for the Aging. You know, we don't hold on to the information. We don't hold it in the agency. It's shared out with the rest of the city, and sometimes it's even shared out, and Mike can attest to, outside of New York City as well, with the state and through the country, because this particular program that we have here, it's a national program. It's federally funded, so it's all across the city. So we've been at conferences and had to talk about our practices and learn from other areas, like Los Angeles has a different way of mapping their areas of poverty. So we look at that too. So you know, we help each other all around, so that the health stat, our data may contribute to that when they look at it. So yeah.
Yeah, you tagged me, so I'll tag in Anita.
Sure.
These different data sources are all important. So you mentioned the community health profiles, and we've talked tonight about the community needs assessment, and Anita is right. So without getting too in the weeds, the community development division here at DYCD, we do look at these different data sets and data sources. And the way that we work through nonprofit providers. So we look at these data sets to think about what types of services are needed. The CNA is particularly helpful because it has always had a historic tie to some particular programs that we fund. Like, we fund neighborhood focused programs to be in the community, right? So if a lot of people in a particular neighborhood say this is the need and this is the need, and in another neighborhood they say that and this is the need and that is the need, then that is going to point us in the direction of making sure particular kinds of services that can meet those needs are there. But it's nice, Jared, that you mentioned community health profile, and I think there's out there, I know there's this other data that we use to say, okay, well, what does the design of the program need to be? And along with meeting the need, what are the services and the activities? And, like, you know, when you get into the weeds, right, like, it's not just the survey alone that dictates how the programs are shaped, or the linkage partners, or the referrals that we expect the nonprofits that they work with to have as part of the services plan. Like, a lot of stuff needs to go into that. And so what I'll say, and then I'll be quiet, is thankfully over the past several years, DYCD has articulated a really reasonable and meaningful mission statement and a really reasonable and meaningful theory of change. And so we have central ways of thinking about what our work is and what our role is. And then we support programs that help deliver on that central work and that central role. But if you were to look at the mission statement, which again is on DYC's website, Anita's pointed everyone there to learn more about the Community Action Board as well. You look at the mission statement, we actually have a vision statement there. When we think about increasing the self-sufficiency of individuals and families and neighborhoods. And then I'll particularly say this, when we think about what does it take for New Yorkers to thrive and to flourish, that really calls to me in the vision. That's what we're about. That's what we're doing, whether it's the barbershop in the evening or the meetings that we took this afternoon. Like, what do we need to do to show up with New Yorkers to help them to thrive and to flourish? And yes, you should be looking at data to help refine your program models and be able to do and deliver on and be able to demonstrate and point to how you're doing that. But you got to have the vision in place to do it. And then, again, just close about the needs assessment. One of the things I love about the needs assessment is it's delivering on part of how New Yorkers thrive and flourish is that they show up and that they raise their voices and their voices counted and it makes a difference, you know. So it's not the only data source, but it's an important data source because we're able to show for our part that we will adapt based on what folks are saying. We may adapt in different ways at different times, but we're always listening because we know it's part of our job to respond, to be responsive and to hold ourselves to account. Whew.
Yes.
I try not to be too
No,
policy,
it was
you know,
good.
it's just, you know.
It was a mic drop. It was a mic drop.
We want to be informative. We want everybody to have
Yes, that is true.
to ensure that they get what this is about.
Right.
That's why we're here.
That's true. And again, end of the year, we're being very reflective. So that makes sense to be thinking about weaving, right? Let's weave someone else into our discussion. So Anita, you stay around, and Jerry, you stay around. I like as we add people there, also adding their folks that have jumped in the conversation are adding their questions and sort of peppering the stew. So let's keep that energy going. Who's next, Scott?
So next is my brother from across the street who helps me out in Brooklyn taking kids and stuff. He's the deputy director of the Brooklyn and out there with ACS, Children Administrative Services, who's doing some work with fatherhood and always looks out for me and lets me know, Scott, you know, we hear you. Even though when I'm mad, I'm mad at ACS. We hear you, Scott. He keeps allowing me to come to the table. I think sometimes they don't want me at the table, but he keeps opening the door. So we want to open up his chair and bring back in our brother, Michael Dunbar. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Doing well, Scott. Great to be back in the barbershop. Good to see you, Jerry, too, man. And welcome back, too.
So what's happening over there in your world?
Well, we continue to be innovative in the work that we've been doing, you know, really reimagining fatherhood, as you know very well. And we started to do something interesting. You know, we're doing a pilot right now in Brooklyn, and we call it Voices of Men. And the reason why we call that is because we know that a lot of men and fathers who are involved in our child welfare systems, they don't feel comfortable or safe in terms of working with us, right? So we understand that, especially if they're court involved, and especially my division. So what we have done is that we have really gathered some real good MSW students here at ACS, and especially in Brooklyn, and really came up with this great idea. I got to give credit to Robert Martinez, my brother from another mother. He approached me with that great idea, because he saw that what we were doing, and he said, we could make this even greater. And we came up with the title Voices to Men. And so what that allows us to do is to engage men and fathers who are actually systems involved, whether it's child welfare or whether it's formerly incarcerated, whatever it is, even with the Department of Education. We want to make sure that they have a safe space to come to us, almost like a copycat of the barbershop. So, homage to you guys for giving us that kind of creativeness Definitely, what that allows us to do is to really provide direct counseling from our MSW students to those fathers who are still sometimes waiting for services. And then because of waiting, they lose interest, and then they don't see the value in the work. And, we want to make sure that they do have that space to allow themselves to share some of their challenges that they are facing, whether, again, sometimes for us, it's because they're involved with us, right? But we want to make sure that we get to the real deep-rooted problem of the issues as to why they brought into our systems, as well as other systems, and allow that really to reshape how we look at our work as well internally, so that we can do things much better. So it's really creative, innovative for us, taking another step in, I believe, in the direction where we can actually change how people perceive, especially in our work, how fathers are viewed across the spectrum. So, it's not just, men of color. We're talking about everyone, because fathers are viewed in a certain way. And, no matter if it's class or what have you, they're treated differently. And we definitely are embarking on, working with our schools here in Brooklyn directly. I received a call this afternoon from a colleague about, challenges a school may have with regard to working with a family, and wondering if, it should be a child welfare involvement. And we want to really change how they look at it. We want to make people be more aware of servicing, as opposed to using the state central registry as a reason as to, getting involved with a family. So we're going to be partnering, especially we're targeting schools in specific neighborhoods that we know we get a lot of FCR reports from. So, we're going back up, to the, East New York. We're going to be partnering with junior high school there, and really look at what they're doing, and also get some real feedback from them as to how they see their work, how we could help them, and also get the parents involved as well, and really get the fathers too, because when they see a father that is present, they give a different perspective on things as well. And I think their value is really, really important, and we want to share that and bring it to the work and change how we do the work across the spectrum.
Wow.
Yes.
You said a lot, and I'm trying to keep up with all of it. It was dope. One thing I want to say before I would let it go or move on to anything else. They say imitation is the most sincere form of flattery, right?
Yeah.
We didn't invent people talking in a barbershop, so run with it, brother. Run with it. You know what I mean? This is our brand, the DYCD Barbershop. You do what you need to do, because you know what? Every man in New York City that we can engage in conversation with other men, that's positive, that's trying to forward actions, whatever, we're all trying to do the same thing. We're all trying to pull in the same direction, and it can be catalytic, and it needs to be catalytic, and it's only going to be catalytic when a lot of us are doing it, and we are finding welcoming environments for other people who, I didn't even know I need to be in this conversation. It's the best conversation I had in a long time. I want to let my brother know about this conversation. Yo, come, we're going to chop it up and talk about stuff we need to deal with, right? The more the merrier. If we can come down sometime, I'll come down and join one of your conversations if I can. But you keep doing what you need to do, and let's have, we're gonna have Robert Martinez up in here one of these days too. That's nice. Keep cross-pollinating ideas. I love it.
Yeah,
Brother Dunbar, with that said, how do people get in contact? Say, hey, listen, where's this Brooklyn group at?
Well, because we are piloted right in Bedford, 1274 Bedford, right down, right there between Crown Heights and Brownsville. So, so we're in the heart of things. So we see everything that happens, and but the beauty of it all is really word of mouth. We've been really talking to a lot of our leadership, and especially we have been really sitting down and having conversations with senior leadership, especially our commissioner, who is very interested in the work of fatherhood. And so we are really across the city have been working together, coming up with pretty much a platform where fatherhood is straight across all divisions of ACS. It's not just within DCP, Division of Child Protection, but rather across. So every entity that comes, touches a family, they would know about, working with fathers and what we're doing and how they could best help them in their specific division, and then point them into the right direction.
Wow, no, listen, we got to make this happen. And And I love the idea. I love the flavor. And once again, like I said, like Mike and I, whatever we can do to help out, let us know. And I love the idea that your commissioner is getting involved. And hopefully, I'm hearing around the city more and more commissioners are talking about this. And maybe we have to find a way of getting all the commissioners to have their own commissioner barbershop. So that's
That's nice. I know our commissioners met earlier this week too, and I just came out of a meeting before the barbershop today. So I've been in some meetings where I've heard your commissioner, and Jerry, you ran into ACS commissioner earlier this week too, right? Exactly. He's on the move. Our commissioner, your commissioner are on the move. They are trying to serve New Yorkers, and they don't just do it from sitting in the desk. They're out in the community. They're running around. They're talking to folks. They're very approachable. And I got to tell you, one of the things that I really, really appreciated about your commissioner and Deputy Mayor Williams Isom, as we were talking about institutional racism and like, what do we need to do in city government to knock down barriers and make sure we're serving New Yorkers. Like when your leaders talk like that, you can go after it and try to really make change and make things happen. So I appreciated that. The things that I'm hearing in the spaces that I once in a while get to be in are very positive things. So I hope they'll keep meeting. I like Scott's idea. Let's pull them all into a barbershop too. And then importantly, when they're letting us do the barbershops and letting us do the voices of men and having these conversations and routinizing those, then again, we can reach a lot of folks that way.
I want to let people know. I guess I'll take my own little city plug to let people know, like Brother Dunbar and Mike and myself, and Jerry. We have to have you all come in because we have, probably like every other month we're doing fatherhood roundtable discussions and topics, and bringing those folks from around the city who are stakeholders in the field of fatherhood. Once again, if you are a stakeholder in the work of fatherhood and you want your organization maybe to be at the table so we can discuss stuff, talk to everybody, please once again drop us a link, information or message at DYCD. The email would be fatherhood at dycd.nyc.gov, and let us know your interest. That's one of the places you can kind of get some information over to us about what we're doing in the field of fatherhood. And Mike, I know that you are doing some big things over there. And I also want to ask you, I know there's some talking around about these community centers that ACS is having. Can you speak a little bit to that too? Because I don't know if people know that this might be in their community already.
Oh yeah, the family enrichment centers, that's what you're referencing to. And actually there's one right there in East New York. A lot of people don't know of it, and it's been here for the past couple of years. Our former commissioner, David Hansel, actually launched that. And there's one also in the Bronx, and it's going citywide. So every borough is going to have a family enrichment center. So families could actually go directly for services and be referred there by anyone, actually, as opposed to getting a call from the SCR, because, before that's what people did, right? They need a helping hand, and unfortunately the only way they knew to help them was to call the state central registry, which launches an investigation, which is what they don't want. And so the enrichment centers, which is run directly from people in the community, is not ACS run, is led by those leaders there. And they're the ones that provide all the resources and the support directly to those individuals in those communities, exactly specifically what they need. So it's definitely, they're looking at, by the end of 2023, all 5 boroughs would have that, a family enrichment center. And that's one of the things that we're definitely promoting to all DOE, because that's one of our major points of where we get a lot of our referrals from. So we want to make them know that that's right there for you, so you could actually send families there for help.
So if I want to find one of these enrichment centers, where would I go to find the address or phone number?
Oh, you could just look it up on the website. You go directly search, Family Enrichment Center in Brooklyn or Family Enrichment Center in the Bronx. And you will find it there. It will pop up, and you just direct families directly there, or you yourself could take them down there as well. So, but that's one of the major things we have definitely been trying to get all our stakeholders to know about is those enrichment centers, and that they can actually point their fingers directly there for families.
And I want to make sure I heard you said that these family centers are community run.
Yes, yes, not ACS led, it's community led. So,
Wow.
although we were, backer supporters, we are not, the drivers, the developers or anything like that. We are the supporters because we believe in the community. The community knows what the needs are, and they do have great ideas. And so sitting at the table and listening to them, it is, we have to at times have to sit and listen and know when to back off and allow the leaders in the community to lead. Give them the tools and they'll be good.
Wow.
Yep. I hear a commonality emerging among the folks in the barbershop yet again today,
yes.
about rather than telling the community this is what you need, asking the community what they need, and then being prepared to respond and deliver. And I like what you're saying, which is also support them in leading the way. This is what we need. Okay, here's space. Work on what it is that you need to do, and we will support you. What else do we need to do for you, with you? I love it. I really have appreciated, even in the smaller scale, the family enrichment centers, and a lot of work that AC has done in trying to tie that to some of the work that Scott's providers have done in fatherhood. And when you announced this, when your agency announced this, I'm trying to remember if it was Jacqueline Martin, but somebody at your agency, yes. Yeah, exactly. We met with Denise Williams, is our deputy commissioner for planning, program integration, evaluation. So we're raising the scale, we're raising the stakes. So I do want to make sure that we continue to connect all of our neighborhood programs, that entire portfolio, with what it is that you're doing, that we can continue to try and pull in the same direction. I think it's really, really exciting.
Absolutely.
This is really a new New York. So many new things are happening in New York. As I said, New York, so nice. I had to name it twice because we are really doing different things. And if you listen to this broadcast and you're not aware of a lot of groundbreaking events that are going on around New York, hey, you got to wake up. This is our opportunity. This is our change agent is happening. Almost all of our sister agencies and brother agencies around New York City, this theme is really you're hearing, and I guess, I want to maybe give a lot of credit to our mayor right now because he had an open door policy, an open conversation. He was asking the community, I remember during his campaign, I want to hear your voices. I want to hear from you. I want to find out what you want. And it seems like that same message is still being driven, even though maybe not coming out of his mouth, but what we're hearing from our stakeholders in our city agencies is that you as a community member, your voice is being asked to be heard. This is your time. Make your voice available. Make your voice stand out. You have to be able to speak up to get what you need. As they say, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. So, with that said, Mike, hang on for a while. I hope you stay with us as we transition to our next guest that we're bringing back. We have a twofer coming in our next. We're bringing these people are so top. We have to bring two in to do that. So we have one of our young person who's an entrepreneur doing big things. Every time we have him on the barbershop, he's throwing lefts and rights and jabs. He's letting everybody know, as a young man, I got my stuff going on. I'm doing my thing, and I want to bring on my brother Arnold. Hey, Arnold, how you doing?
Hey, how y'all doing? Can y'all see me?
You're a little blurry and a little dark. There you go. There you go, Arnold. How you doing, my brother?
I'm doing good. How is everybody doing today?
Tell us a little about yourself, Arnold, because we know when you were in the barbershop before, you say, I don't care how old all y'all old guys are, I can hang with you too.
Yeah. What's up, everybody? My name is Arnold Ludd. I run a boxing program called Gigabyte Gloves Up, Guns Down. It's a gun violence prevention talk, and also, teaching kids how to defend themselves. I'm in more than over five DOE schools and working on my LLC and nonprofit to be in some, DYCD hubs. So that's coming soon as well.
And also with Arnold, I want to bring on our next co-worker that's in there doing big thing. Hey, Tracy, how you doing?
How are you?
All right.
Good
So I
evening,
got to,
everyone.
I'm tag teaming with you and Arnold. All the
Yes, you
stuff that we're
are.
doing.
I'm glad you made it there safely. Tracy and
Thanks.
I were in one of these meetings I was referencing earlier. We were looking at each other like, this is a great meeting, but I'm looking at the time. I'm
I
looking
was
at what
like, Mike,
time it
I
is.
don't know if I'm gonna be able to check
She said, if
in.
you
I
want me to
gotta
be
go
in
up
there,
to
you need to let me
DC.
go. I was like, I don't dictate when the meeting ends, but I hope you will rush out of this meeting and get to the barbershop.
I
And
did.
then
I
when we
made it
came
to the
out of the
barbershop.
barbershop, one of the guys that was in the last barbershop, A.T. Mitchell, he was walking into the next meeting. I was like, oh, good to see you, brother. I'm going right back in the barbershop right now. He's like, oh, barbershop. All right, that's what's up. You know, that's cool. So welcome back, Tracy.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And, thank you for having us again. I say us because I work closely with Mr. Ludd here. Arnold is one of our promising young men, and he makes us feel very confident about what the city has to look forward to. Not only does he have his own small business, but his social impact business, which is an anti-gun violence tool and crime prevention tool that he does with young people. He's also a member of DYCD's Youth Council, where they do a lot of work with social impact projects. And he's just excited and involved. And, I think our message I think, Mike, you said it earlier, or maybe it was you, Scott, like listening to the community. What does the community want? Where are we meeting them where they're at? They want to be involved. They want to be a part of the process. They want to see real change. And, on the youth side of the agency, Arnold is one of those young people who are really about it. He brings his voice, he brings his talent, he brings his energy, and I stand behind him.
Yeah, great.
Arnold, so we really want to hear, all of us old heads here. Just me, I guess.
Yeah, just you, Mike. Stop calling us old heads. Jerry and I and Anita,
Yeah.
we're not co-signing on to that.
Thank you, Tracy. Como
Yes,
está, mi hermana? That's my sister right there. Close for the family.
I don't know if you could put on me that I called anyone other than myself maybe an old head. By the way,
Scott,
this is a
it's Scott.
total tangent, but I would say old head is always situational. Because I remember I joined Kappa Alpha Psi in 1989, and we refer to old heads as anybody that pledged 3 years earlier than when we pledged. So it's always situational, you know what I mean? And then I was going back and visiting guys at school up until 99. I'm like, look, this is 10 years since I pledged. I gotta be an old head at this point, So I don't know what Jerry is at this stage anymore, and I don't even know if it matters. I assume Jerry is younger than me. He presents like he's younger than me. I think of him as a young brother, and I would not dare to weigh on Tracy or Anita in terms of your age.
Good call.
Dream of
That's
it.
right.
See what you learn in the barbershop, certain things you don't ask questions about.
You can guess. You can guess.
I don't know if it's Saturday Night Live. I saw some sketch where they would do like these fake game shows. And one, so in the interest of time to get the game going, why don't we just say what your ages are? And they all was like, really? And so one was a young sister. She said, I'm 39. And the guy said so-and-so. And then the third contestant, white lady, she said, no.
I love it. Well, watch me do this amazing segue. I love the seasoning that's in this space, in this room. I actually want to swing back to Arnold real quick and ask you, based on all the stuff that you heard here, I remember Arnold, and Tracy, you correct me if I'm wrong. First time I met Arnold was in Shark Tank.
That's right.
He won Shark Tank.
Yes, he's actually
been like 2 years.
Last year. That's right.
And so in that space, one, as a youth, how do you maintain momentum, and then how do you encourage advocacy with other youth? Like, I'm so curious, like, to see you still here doing it. Most youth, especially in this real quick information age, all right, I'm good for the next month and then I'm off to something else. To see you continue to skill stack of what you're doing, I'm curious, how do you continue that momentum and stamina in the work of advocacy, and how do you encourage your other youth to do the same?
Well, for me, thank you for the question. For me, it's more about, not being a teacher or not lecturing the youth. So the youth give me the energy and give me the motivation. I'm there as one of them. I'm there to have fun with them, and we there to have a good time. So I'm getting the energy from the youth, doing these different events, being around other kids that was like me or am like or like me, went through the things that I went through. Then I had things that the same things that I didn't have, that want those things. So I'm there to have fun with them, and I get that motivation to keep on going. Because like I said, I'm in 5+ schools now. and that's over like 100 kids that I have served past since I first started in the summer. So now
Wow.
seeing these kids in different spaces and having a lot of females, and I express that having a lot of females come to my program, participate is very powerful for me. So like, just having the kids there, because like God's gonna show up, but having the female show up is awesome to me, because they give me motivation to keep on going, keep on providing this for both genders.
So how do people get in contact with you to join your or the schools to say, hey, that sounds like something that we need to bring here? How do they get in contact with you?
So right now I'm working underneath a nonprofit named Inspiring Minds, and they have this internship going on called I Am CEO. So I'm the first success story at the I Am CEO, where they funded me, as well as Young Sharks funded me to have my program. It's Inspiring Minds. The executive director name is Katrina Peru, and she mentored me all the way here. Like I said, with her help, I'm in the 5 schools. I'm working with Tracy and Karen Bassett to get some DYCD hubs. So, just with the help of, different organizations is real great for me, connecting with them and getting to these schools. I'm 20 now, but starting as a 19-year-old, it's hard to get in schools. And it's hard to get in schools for adults with degrees. But I would say my process was easy. Just having the backing of these big nonprofits, and, a lot of people helped me along my journey.
Has anybody called you an old head yet?
The old soul, but maybe not old head, the old soul.
Yeah. Mind you, my program is in my old school, so when I walk in the building, the kids treat me like I'm a superhero.
Nice. I like that better than the old head
Yeah.
superhero. I like that much
Good for
better.
you.
That's dope.
I always tell them like I one of them, and I like walking in the building, and my principal and the staff treat me like one of them. They treat me like a student. I feel like I'm a part of the staff family, and then I tell the kids like I'm not no different from y'all either. I'm a part of y'all family too. So it's a great environment, and having the principals. The one thing I like about having my program is not just for the kids. Teachers and principals are welcome too. So now that the teachers and principals are coming in, it makes the kids feel more welcome and more home.
Connections.
As we move forward, give us some insight. What should we be doing to really support young people, have their voices heard, bring them into the barbershop? What things can we be doing for the new year as we're winding up this year? Can you give us any help, any suggestions?
Oh, so I'm gonna use this term now. I would consider that in this aspect, I'm an old head. Like we have MBSK, my brother's sister's keeper, and we do have on the IM side, on the Inspire My side, we have my brother's keeper, and MSK, my sister's keeper. And I was just at the 40/40 club yesterday for my brother's event at Barclays. So what I would say is to have more kids like me come on, have MBSK members come on, and, have them talk about the things that they feel that needs to change. Because I'm at the point now where my program is getting bigger and bigger by the day. So now I need to build faculty. Having my peers, do book bag giveaways with me. I had help from DYCD, and I would graduate to do a book bag giveaway. And that it blossomed. I did the book bag giveaway on my block. And I say that was very important to me because my grandma got to be there. And my grandma recently passed away December 5th. And her funeral was actually tomorrow. So, having my grandmother see me in the news and, see me get back to my block, a block that she lived on for years, was very passionate for me. And that's something I really want to do. So just have other kids like me come on and tell their story. Have some MBSK kids that, once it's feeling to be in the barbershop, come and tell their story and things that they want to do in the community or things that they're really doing in the community. Like I mentioned before, the I Am CEO space, we already have kids doing other projects like mine. We have a girl named Andrea doing a Granny and Me project, but she's working at nursing homes. Like my mother's a nurse, so my mother works in a nursing home. I connect Andrea with the nursing home, so when she's come there with kids like her and providing services to the nursing home people, as well as Rashid at the garden at Boys and Girls, and he's helping other schools build gardens too. So it's kids out here doing the work and doing the community work. So we just have to connect them to the right resources.
Say, Arnold, we may have to put you in an apprenticeship program in the barbershop to be an apprentice. But Tracy, so how's DYC dealing with all these things that Arnold's talked about with the youth side and the work that you're doing?
I think Arnold made a good point, is like, where are these platforms and opportunities where young people just can have their voices being heard? And it's not being heard is the only message, right? But who is the receiver of the messages? So creating these experiences where there's dialogue, right? We're not talking at you, you're not talking at us, we're talking back, where this is the adult youth partner relationship situational here thing happening, but what do those opportunities look like? I think DYCD and Mike and I feel like we've been in meetings all day today about how are we making sure that we're tapping into responding to what the community needs, and actually what is strategic partnerships role in getting the message out. What is forward facing? But if we're going to be forward facing, sending out messages, who are, for lack of a better term, are credible messengers, right? And so for me, and this only is because I've been more on program youth side longer than I have with the rest of the agency, but I'm trying and learning to spread my wings in all of the agency, but able to tap into the youth that we work with, like Arnold, his peers, mentioning names, and not being afraid to tap into a young person to come in, to ideate with them, to plan with them, to make them a part of the process, to throw a policy pitch at them and get their genuine feedback and hear them, right?
Yep.
It may not all be incorporated. We know there are powers that be that won't let us change everything, but authentically meet them where they're at and hear them, hear what they're saying. And I think that with the commissioner's vision on what the repurposing, what the agency's purpose is. I mean, if you are community development, then we need to be in the community. We can't be in our offices asking a question, right? You take the paper and you go out into the street and you ask the question. You take the app, you go out there and you ask the question. If we're saying that we are real partners with our community-based organizations, then it's more about monitoring and oversight is like, how am I really partnering with you when you need something, right? I understand we all want more funding and we all need, but I have something going on and you have a community-based organization 2 blocks down. There's no reason why you can't do something together. And if you need me to introduce that relationship or build that bridge or broker that idea, then that's what I'm here for. That's my service to you, and tapping into the people that we've worked with over the years to help us continue to move forward. I think Arnold and the group of young people that he knows, he makes that very clear to us. Sometimes we put out events and ideas that we say, oh, this is for a DYCD funded participant. We're looking beyond that now. If a young person is in one of our programs, but we're asking them to get the word out, 50% of their reach are for young people who aren't in our programs. And so we can't shut them out the door. We just gotta, be creative in how we can make sure there's room for everybody. And I think we're learning how to do that better. And that's what I'll say to that. Scott?
No, I love it. And, one of the things that Arnold, I want, maybe you can help us, because we've been thinking about how to get the barbershop into the community. I know we're doing it virtual, but we're trying to think and figure out a strategy of how we would young people like that. Would you think the young people would like to see this live and in person? Go ahead, see your hand up.
Yeah, so I actually got to answer that. So like I said, I'm a part of another organization called Inspiring Minds, and we do our own thing called I am CEO. We have kids do a Shark Tank of our own, and we fund kids to have their own business. So one kid pitched to have his own barbershop, and another kid pitched to have a podcast, which I already doing now via Zoom. But Boys and Girls High School has a barbershop that's not being used. So that's a way that you could put that out and, have the kid with that idea, help, work that out with y'all. So that's a barbershop that never been used that could be used and, actually film there too.
That's cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks, Arnold.
There you go.
Are we recording this? Yes. Okay. Want to make sure we have that on tape. That once again,
it's just about making the right connections. I learned that from Tracy, Karen, and even the commissioner. It's not about what you know; it's about who you know, and never to burn the bridge.
That's right.
Arnold, say that again, because you got such an old soul. Say that one more time, because folk really need to truly understand that. Say it again.
Yeah, it's not about what you know; it's about who you know, and to never burn the bridge. That's something I wouldn't say I learned before, but it's something I'm learning now. Like as I get bigger, I have people pulling me in different, different ways, and I gotta find out what's best for me, and not to burn the bridge where I'm, actually elevating.
Wow. See, Arnold, you throwing jabs and throwing jewels, and we had to duck and weave around you now. We love you, Arnold. You know, like I said, I think we have to figure out an apprenticeship chair somewhere around here. You know,
Right.
put you in.
Right. I like
And
that you. I like that you put. I just say I like that you put those two things together
yeah,
because I worry some. I'll be honest. I worry sometimes when people say it's not what you know, it's who you know. But when you put it with that other statement, I
Yeah.
feel you and I get it because I actually like. There's a lot of stuff I've held on to from my youth, which is about having your elevator pitched together and that sort of thing, right? So I do think what you know matters, but what you know doesn't matter if you don't network and try to expose it to other people and make it happen. Everybody knows something. You know, I remember it, and this is a silly story, but it's a funny story. So some of my college friends love to play golf, and I remember one guy was trying to get other people's attention, saying, I hit a lot of stray balls or whatever, and I wish there was some sort of device so that I could try to find, my ball or whatever. Right? And they're like, nobody wants it. Nobody wants it. And about 6 or 7 years later, he pulled up an article. It's like, yep, they selling the device I was talking about. You know what I mean? Somebody got rich off of the same idea. He was not the first person, I imagine, that thought of the need for something, but somebody else went and kept talking to people until the device got created and everybody started buying that thing. That's what I love about what you're doing. You're being a man of action, young man of action. So it's not just, I have an idea. It's about getting your idea in front of people who want to work on that idea until you have enough people and the idea is actually happening.
I'm glad
What's that
you-
old thing? Some people ask you what's happening, and other people wonder what happened. I can't remember the expression right now, but in the meanwhile, you're like, this is what's happening until you find enough people to like make it catalytic and really do it. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Arnold, go.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. That's the thing that I'm trying to get across too. When I learned from, like I said, Inspiring Minds and MBSK from the executive producer Katrina, Tracy and Karen, is that the kids have the ideas. It's kids that want to push out these ideas. It's about having the ideas and having the mentorship. So one thing that's important to me is any organization can fund a kid money with a good elevator pitch. But it's about the mentorship, showing them how to use that money, showing them where to put that money, showing them how to use connections, showing them how to get more funding. It also, my program all started from me and my mentor talking, and now my program is in 5 different schools. So it's it's all about locking in certain things.
I think that's powerful. Oh, go ahead, Tracy. I'll follow you.
Are you sure? I just wanted to add to Arnold's. It's not what you know, is who you know, and make sure you don't burn those bridges. I think Arnold is a great example of someone who's living it in the moment. He's got to see, he's been in spaces where he's seen the bridge have multiple pathways, and that mentorship piece of having him navigate the different walkways and pathways of the bridge is totally helpful for him. I have had those side conversations where he's like, oh, I didn't realize that you knew so-and-so, and I didn't realize that so-and-so was connected, and I'm back in this space because someone else referred me back to this person. And so to actually have those aha moments really happen in front of you as someone who's just working in the field with a young person is just very valuable to see. And then to Scott's piece about how do we bring the barbershop in person on the times where our YMI and mentoring partners and MBFK partners have been able to participate, they've been asking, like, when is this going to be in person? Like, what barbershop is this going to show up at? And so that is something that we've been talking about, aside from Arnold, like actually now selecting a school that may have a barber, but we've had, all of the partners that were able to join into your conversation over the year, they've always asked, well, now that the pandemic's over, are we taking this in person, and which barbershop is it going to be at? And then I'm always like, all right, we'll see. It's not really my baby. It's a Mike, Bobbin, and Scott baby thing, but let's see. But it's resonated with the folks that I've asked to join on, and I just know that on our mentoring side, they're looking to replicate exactly what you guys are doing. And I know Karen has been talking with you guys about that. So and Jerry, you're on.
No, I love that. I'm just gonna follow in this same space and just echo it. First off, just Arnold, I'm proud of you. Like, this is just amazing stuff that you're doing. And every time I see you, impress me more and more. just continue kudos to you. I love when we talk about connection. This is going back on what Mike and Tracy said. Just what that looks like connecting across the board. What I am seeing, especially coming out of the pandemic with new leadership coming across the board, there's this real strong energy, and we're like in an exciting time. Just 3 days ago, I was in Gracie Mansion with the mayor, and he had a networking event with all the commissioners and and just a variety of CBOs. And shout outs to ACS Commissioner Jess. He was out there, and we were just talking about how everything you were saying, how ACS was being reimagined. Initially, a lot of times growing up, when you hear ACS, you kind of think of, especially as it relates to youth, you think of like the patrol team versus a partnering protective team, right? And what does that look like across the board? And so having the ability to really partner in different areas, funding is always going to be an issue. Let's kind of put that on the card there. What is becoming the new thing is, how do I leverage relationships so that we can be better? Going back to what I do, a partnership with children, right? We serve underserved, where we really speak to underserved students in just deep rooted urban communities. What does that look like when I mentioned the hub model? If there's different resources there that can help support the needs so we can give a wraparound services, why would I ask for more funding when there's somebody down the block? And the minute you make that connection, now you wrap around it's a whole nother layer of service and help meeting the community needs. And I'll even use that opportunity to even elevate the survey with Anita. The more data we have, the more connections that we make, the easier it is for us to actually deliver impact. And so to hear the space is just a really beautiful, dynamic space. So following the same line of Arnold's energy, I can't even say it the way he said it, but building on that impact, creating those relationships, burning bridges, that's amazing.
Building bridges, yep. And that's what community is. We help each other.
Wow. So many different things, because we even have a building bridge program here. So
yes, we do.
Thank you for that. Wow, this is an awesome night. And you know what is, we're so happy that we've had all of our guests come back, and we appreciate you. I know we had some other guests that we had wanted to come back and bring back on to the barbershop, but because of whatever's happening in the holidays, and people are taking these times to spend time with family and really spend quality time as the year goes out. It's awesome. So David, I don't know if, my mic is low. Okay, so David, I don't know if there's any questions or anything in the chat that we want to ask any of our members that are here. Are there any questions coming in? And once again, if you are in YouTube and you want to chat with somebody, you want to ask somebody a question, this is your golden opportunity. Please make sure you log into your account so that you have the chat feature on YouTube, and that you can send us a message, and we can hopefully bring that message up. Okay, so right now we don't have any questions, but we're happy that people are staying with us, and we really appreciate you coming in and logging in to us and see what's happening. People, Jerry, they throwing up, bigging you up, Jerry. So
I actually got a question for Mike D. I gotta ask my brother something real quick.
Good.
No, so with the amazing work that you're doing, this is actually from a personal space as well as a professional space, being a co-parent. What does that look like? What tools, best practices are you speaking to your groups as it relates to men, or I should say fathers, being not just courageous, but safe to actually be fathers, right? A lot of times that separation is met the minute the relationship goes out, so this parenting. So what's happening? What are some practices, spaces, tools that you're using to allow fathers to be safe to be fathers and then courageously parent?
Well, one of the things, and I thank Scott again, because the idea a couple of years ago, Scott came on, and we started off with the emotional man. That stirred up a lot of conversations and emotions that really helped shift how we look at the work. And what we have done is create tools for our staff to help better understand why it's important to really talk about the value of fathers or men in children's lives, especially from the important stages, whether it's from birth when they're first talking, they're developing the first language, the spoken word, going to school, being in those spaces where they learn how to, problem solve, even when they're, both parents, the ability to really think about co-parenting differently. Your relationship with that individual may not have, been positive in terms of that emotional part where you were a partner, but you have a child or children in common that is seeing and really thinking about everything that you have said and done. That's definitely how they're going to, perceive life and look at life and then act on it as well. So we want to, one of the things that we tell them to do is to, especially for both parents, is to ask their children, how do they think their child perceived and how they interact with each other, and hear it from their perspective. Because oftentimes, unfortunately, the old saying of children seeing but not heard, children hear everything and hear everything, as much as you try to, isolate them. And so we are giving them these little tools to start rethinking about their relationship. What is in the put the child at the center, at the forefront of everything. Of your, and your relationship is second. And think about it from day one. How is my child perceiving how I solve my problems in terms of, problem solving with the relationship with others? It could be, interacting with a friend. How you treat that friend, that is important. And what is that response from that, that parent, whether it's the father or the mother? What does that look like? So those are things are very, very critical, and especially when there are custody issues, and you see that often. And unfortunately, when they don't take these approaches, you see that not only is it conflictual, and you see the behaviors of the child then gradually change. And that in itself result in children not being taken seriously in terms of why their behaviors or actions are being taken away. It is. And so we definitely making sure that, especially in our Voices of Men approach, in our own approach with our colleagues and our staff, we having these discussions, and we're looking at every decision-making points too when we're talking about families. We want to make sure that we include both perspectives, because one perspective may, you think that is, great value, but another may really bring you some real insight and a different approach to the same situation. So we are doing a lot of things that are really trying to make parents see, especially our staff, as well as the families that we encounter, how valuable a father or a man is in a child's life.
And Brother D, one thing that I've always kind of tried to stress, that once again, children are learning at that same stage also. A lot of times they see parents have issues and then go apart, but they don't always get a chance to see parents resolve the issue together. And I think that's something that we have to do. Any of us who have been married, there's been time that we did, my bags have probably been packed more times than I can think about, but my wife might be upstairs now packing my bags. I'm still down here doing this, but our children have seen us work through the process and still love each other. And so how are we thinking about even doing those type of critical trainings with the families as they come into a process and being mentored how to resolve? Because maybe, once again, maybe their parenting skills that they learned from their broken family, they never had those skills or techniques to be able to deal with conflict and bring some healing to it. Is that
Absolutely.
something that you all may be working on with that also?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because like you said, Scott, some of our families come from broken homes, and they've never been, given the tools or seen the tools available to them to, solve conflicts. And we also want to let people know it's okay that in your relationship you do have conflicts, but they're healthy ones. Right, you will always going to have some form of disagreement. Is how we could agree to disagree on things, but how you do it. And your child seeing that and hearing that is also teaching them how to resolve issues as well. and in a healthy way. And so we tell our staff and we teach our staff those things as well, especially in my division where you have court orders that are put in place. One of the things that we're really working on, Scott and everyone, is to really have our court systems. So when we talked about fathers, when you put orders of protections in place, you know what that does to the fathers, exactly. So, you're sending the wrong message, and you're not making him part of the solution or part of the family as a whole. So we're definitely been talking to our leadership, especially in the courts, as we look at 2023. What can we do differently with that? We have Safe Way Forward, where we're talking about healthy co-parenting, that definitely we're bringing the fathers back into the fold. If there are order protections, we're going to figure out how we're going to be, having them work healthy together with the parent or the person that has that order protection against them as to co-parenting with that child. Looking at each decision making that, because it's stressful, especially for a single parent, to make decisions as it relates to children and their various situations. And so having the father or being involved in that process could also help the healing and understanding of how we can really move forward.
I was going to say, because I know Mike has been with me talking about, hey, we got to get the family court. We got to get them in this space. We got to get them into the conversation. We have to get them to the table. And Mike, I don't know if you want to add about that. We know it's so important that we have to build this bridge with courts.
Yes. I think you've said it. There's not all that much that I can add other than consistent with this theme of the evening about voices and making sure New Yorkers' voices are being heard. We hear the anecdotal examples, and I don't want to say this is true for every judge or for every court or for every instance, but we've heard enough anecdotal information. If certain people can't make a court date, it gets rescheduled, and when other people can't get it, they get fined, they get a judgment.
Right.
So how do we make things more equitable so that everyone's voice matters? And then I think there are notions of justice, procedural justice. When I have a chance to speak and be part of the process, I'm better able to accept the outcome because at least I got a chance to state my case. So how do we prepare people to engage with systems when unfortunately those systems are still very bureaucratic and sometimes they move very slowly, but how can we try to prepare people to navigate them, and what can we do outside of those formal systems, or maybe we can tear down and rebuild and make more humane some of those systems. But basically what we could do so that people and families can survive and thrive, like we said earlier, thrive and flourish, like even the face of systems. And look, if we wanted to do a history lesson, I'm sure there are good reasons why the systems came into being in the first place, right? They were trying to protect someone or some party, whatever. But if the initial thinking was not holistic, now we're setting members of families almost maybe it's not the deliberate intention, but almost against each other. These adversarial systems are not necessarily the best. It'd be different if it was like, I used your product and I'm suing you for $50,000. Like, the systems work for stuff like that. But the systems, it's more challenges. Like, we all love each other, but we just can't agree on how to handle such and such a thing. So I'm all in favor of where we can, those of us who have stronger connections to other folks in the systems, when we can say very loudly or whisper in someone's ear, like, wait a minute, let's unpack this thing. How do you bring the temperature down? How do you give people the information that they need to get through the system? Are there intervention points where we can get ahead of these things sooner so people don't end up getting stuck in these systems they can't get out of? I think, those of us when we're working with, well, I know, I guess it's across the board, all of us in the work that we're doing, the ACS is doing, DYC is doing, trying to do, we're trying to surround and support the family interests of strengthening the family. And that's going to mean different things for different people depending on who they are in the family.
And one of the things I just want to share with you in terms of what we are, and especially in our role, because we deal with the courts quite often, is that all my members of my team have that same vision and understanding of what we want to achieve in terms of families, best outcomes for children and families. And so when we started off, we were one of the boroughs that had the highest number of families under court order supervision in the city. And now we are one of the lowest because we took that approach, because all of us are committed to that equity. We look at having more fathers involved, and we have gotten more fathers involved in working with their children and their former partners to be co-parenting in a healthy way. We have had more children released to the care of fathers because we have seen that they have done better in terms of changing their approach to working with their own child. So, we're making sure that is not something that just remains unique into our own division. We want this approach to be citywide, buy into that vision, and ensure that our families are not in the legal system just because of the bureaucracy.
Brother D, I want to see those statistics of dad releases, because that's awesome. And I have heard of some young guys that that have their children, but you hear it spottily here and there. But I think we have to be able to raise it that this is happening. Fathers are gaining custody of their children, able to raise them and raise the bar. And I hope that we could lock arms together in the near future, and maybe getting to have a conversation, but a deeper conversation with the family court, since you have a great connection into them and a relationship with them. I think they are one of the pieces that we need to work with very closely. So I see what time it is, and we're getting ready to run out of time. And I've always tried to say that we were going to end one of these barbershops on time. Never happens. So first of all, as we wind up, and I really want to thank everyone for being and doing this, but I want to take the opportunity to bring one person on that you don't get to see on camera, but keeps this barbershop going, keeps the glue going, and does an amazing job of making sure we have meetings, contacting the panelists, who brings butter cookies to me at work and stuff like that. So I want to bring on, and David, you got to turn on your picture.
Who's doing two jobs at the same time?
At the same time, yes, double
How about
duty and
that?
stuff like that. And I want you all to get to meet David Aguilera, who does all the work for us. And thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. And I know
David.
this is when you log off tonight, you can start your vacation. So, David, I really want to appreciate you. And I don't know, I know you and I joke around, we talk and everything. And David, listen, man, since I met you, you've been a hard worker. You keep saying, hey, Scott, what do you need me to do? I'm able to do anything. You're one of the most easy talking person, easy going. I don't think you know how to say no? I've never heard you say no. Whatever happens,
Very hard.
You will try.
He knows how to say no.
He knows how to say no.
That's good. Anita.
No, that's his boss. His boss is, he knows how to say
right.
no.
But
I don't know if
David
Nancy listens to the barbershop. You better be careful. I got David in trouble about never saying no.
David looks for the solution always.
Always,
yes.
So, David, we want to do your evaluation live on the barbershop now.
That was
we
awesome.
wanted people to know who's behind the scenes. This is the backbone of this barbershop for the last couple of years doing it. Has never complained about it. Has found a way, and he's always able to find a solution. So, David, we want to give you your flowers at the close of this year of 2002, and give you a big hand and thank you for and maybe let you have a word or two, Dave.
I think it's easy. I think it's easy to do stuff like this and it's easy to work hard for something because this is a real thing, and this is hosted by real people, and this is hosted by real issues. And whenever something is real, you try to keep it going as much as you can, because there's a lot of cynical people in this world, and it's very easy to be cynical, but I try not to. And everybody here is real. Everybody here is real. Everybody talks real. This agency is real. That's why I come to work every day and work with everybody here, because we're trying to help people in poverty. We're trying to make them self-sufficient, and doing work like this. It's hard, but we do it every day because, you know, the glass is always half full.
Always positive, always positive. So thank you, Dave. So Anita, last words as we get ready to close this thing out.
I echo David's sentiments that we do the work, and I've seen people who have succeeded from these programs. It's helped a little bit, and it helped when it was needed, and they have gone on to become professionals and helping other people to get out of poverty. So it's a good thing. So happy holidays to everybody, and may 2023 be a better year than 2022. And tomorrow we get another minute of sunlight added to the day.
Yeah.
So spring is coming after today.
But after the storm that's on its way for them all too.
Well,
Right?
it doesn't matter. Spring is coming.
Great, positive thinking. Tracy.
Yes, I echo Anita and David and the group here, and to the group that I don't get to see on YouTube watching us. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to 2023. I'm optimistic, and I just want to stay that way. And happy holidays. And today's the winter solstice, right? Happy winter
Yes.
solstice. And be safe out there. Absolutely. And
Brother
invite me
D.
back anytime.
Definitely. Brother D.
Yeah, happy holidays to all of you. It's great to be back on the barbershop, and thank you for allowing me to be here. I truly, truly appreciate it. Looking forward to the continued work and the partnership. And 2023, look out, we're going to be doing some great things.
Yeah, great.
Jerry.
I'm just echoing everybody. Love what David said. The Barbershop Talks is about real people doing real things. And thank you for everyone out there that's listening. Thank you for my brothers and sisters that I get to see and share space with again. Cheers, everybody out there who doesn't look like what you go through. And as for 2023, I'm excited for where everyone's going and not where everyone is. So just happy to be here. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year.
Right. So Mike, as we wind down this year and all the things that we're doing, that we have done and accomplished with the barbershop, and things we're going to be hopefully gearing up moving into the new year, what's your take?
Where to start? We covered a lot of ground through the barbershop over this year, and we've covered a lot of ground through the barbershop since its inception, and so everyone who is listening to this session, please know that we've with limited exceptions, we've archived every conversation. And so if you liked what you heard, feel free to skim or poke through, go around DYC's YouTube channel. You can see other exciting topics. We may revisit some of those next year with a new slant on them. We will certainly cover new ground and new territory as there are new exciting things happening in 2023 at DYCD and around the city of New York generally. I appreciate what you said in the beginning, Scott, inviting people if they have suggestions for topics to email and let us know. And you're always offering that, and we're always checking for that and listening for that, just like we check during the chat during every discussion about questions related to what we're talking about. And then when we close out, David, please put up the QR code one more time, because we, along the way of getting all this feedback and this being the biggest time we've ever done the community needs assessment, we're not done. We're not done until the clock switches from 2022 to 2023, and we want to hear from you. We want to hear from you and your mom and your cousin and your landlord and your neighbor and your teenage daughter and anybody else who's a New Yorker who wants to lend their voice to saying what are the most important needs in your local neighborhood. I think that that's always going to be important. It helps inform so much of what we do. I really appreciate everybody who joined this discussion and came back to the barbershop. I think Tracy is going to need a chair, and there's a few other people
Yeah.
who have been in and have been back, and so I appreciate as we keep this thing moving along. And I don't want to let go of this right now. It was really nice, Scott. You made a point of David getting his flowers. I want to thank him again, as you did, for how he seamlessly, as everyone said, he looks to solve the problem and does it with grace and very promptly too. David's follow through is amazing, and I appreciate that. And a quick version of a quick story, right? David came to the agency the week before the pandemic made us all have to leave the office and was going to have a totally different job, actually. And because of his skill set, it didn't take that long to be like, oh, well, actually, we have an opportunity over here with this other team. Do you want to do that? David's like, yep, I'll do that. I'm definitely down to do that. And then meanwhile, being here, allowed him to see the barbershop and like, oh, we could use a little help with this. They're, okay, I'll do that. So I really acknowledge David's adaptability and flexibility and him throwing himself into things with that same spirit that you heard in the beginning. So that's yet one illustration about how much in some ways things have changed since right before the pandemic, right before we did the barbershops. But we keep this stuff rolling along. I'm sure we will adapt in certain ways in 2023, and we know not exactly what they will be. But I'm appreciative, Scott, that you're here and that you've been consistent, and that together with others, we've been consistent about trying to make a difference, try to keep it real, try to keep it authentic, try to keep it fresh, try to talk about stuff that other people are thinking about and worried about, and together trying to solve problems and help advance our game. Steel sharpens steel for those of us in the barbershop, just like for those of us listening. And so we're not really doing New Year's resolutions necessarily, but I say that's where my head is at for this. Like, how can we continue to make this strong, make this accessible, widen the audience? So if you like what you've heard, tell a friend. You can check the archive content, but know that we're committed to keep bringing it to you. So that's it from my end. How do you want to bring us home, Scott?
So, just a little thought for the journey into next year. Well, first, let me give a couple of shameless plugs. Please be on the lookout that we are going to be doing a fatherhood conference, an Affirming Fatherhood Conference 2, coming up in the month of April. We're looking to do that. We're looking to do a hybrid, so we're looking at doing it in person here in New York City, and we're going to be online doing that. So if you have some content or some information, we would love to hear from you. We're looking at developing a concept paper to do some new contracts coming out, and we really want to hear from our constituents. So if you have some information that can help inform us to do the work that we're trying to do better, we would definitely like to hear from you. We have opportunities, we have places and spaces that people can meet with you, to talk to you, to help us inform all the work, not just the fatherhood stuff that we want to do, but to hear and inform all of the work at DYCD. And we want you to really know that DYCD is here working for you. Our mission is that we're working for you. And no, definitely in our unit, we're working about alleviating poverty. I tell you, just about everybody in our unit is really serious about getting down in the weeds and figure out how can we help those lift themselves out of poverty and making moves and strides to be a better person, to have a better life, to thrive and stride, and not having to worry about those things. We're in a great city. We're in probably one of the best cities in the world, and we want to keep New Yorkers alive and keep them safe and keep them healthy. And we want to hear from you all as New Yorkers, because we love you. We are New Yorkers. We're here to do our job, and not that we do this for always a paycheck. It's always nice, but once again, because our heart is in this. David said before, because this is what we really do. And I would tell you that just everybody I know at DYCD and our organization, they're doing it from the heart and not really always for the other part. We love what we do. We love you. We respect you as our community. We respect that we can be out there on the front line serving you. Every time people don't get an opportunity to serve, one of the greatest things they say you can be is a servant to others. And we here at DYCD really truly want to be able to serve our community. to be able to see the fruits of our labors, to see how many things that you are doing well, and how that what we have done behind the scenes or over our desk and what we're doing, how it makes a difference in your lives. And sometimes we go out in the community and we can see that impact. It makes us stronger. It makes us want to dig down a little deeper, work a little harder, because we are doing and we can see the fruits of our labor when we see your bright faces being successful. So it's not always about us, but it's about you being successful. So as we close out this 2022 year, we want to wish everybody a happy new year, a Merry Christmas, and a better 2023 and a successful 2023. So I just want to get everybody to take time, spend with your loved ones. Life is short. Don't make too many resolutions you can't keep. Don't worry about that. But just spend quality time with your family. You never know when that might be the last time. As Arnold has just lost his grandmother, and he spoke about it, we always have our loved ones, and we never know. And you'd be surprised, just being nice to your neighbor in New York. You know, a lot of times people talk about, oh, New York City and things like that. I tell you, we have some of the greatest people in New York. I get on the subway and you wave to somebody, you give a nod head, and people will wave to you. But you always sometimes just hear about the negative. And a lot of things is just a small part of New York is a little bit negative. But I would say we as New Yorkers are great people. We are so great. They named us twice. That's why we are called New York, New York. We're the Big Apple. And we are here at DYCD, Department of Youth and Community Development, in our barbershop. And as we sign off for 2022, we are excited about the things that we're going to be doing in 2023. So, David, hit the music as we go out.
DYCD, Barbershop Talks. Fatherhood matters. Diverse. Hey, yo, these is barbershop talks where the fathers pop off, brag about relationships and argue about sports. Every topic's a favorite, is how we plot course toward changes. It all begins with dialogue and patience. Barbershop talk, so let's chop it up, boys. Barbershop talk, so let's chop it up, boys. Barbershop talk, so let's chop it up, boys. Chop it up, boys. Chop it up, boys. It's barbershop talk, so let's chop it up, boys. It's barbershop talk, so let's chop it up, boys. It's barbershop talk, so let's chop it up, boys. Chop it up, boys. Chop it up, boys.